All right. Welcome, everyone, to Black Wolf Podcast. Today we have Anthony Taylor. Anthony is a photographer in Portland. You're not from Portland, but you're here now.
I'm here now, yeah.
Yeah. And I met you at Gage's show.
Yeah.
Gage,
Tips on Failing, yeah.
Yeah. Gage is a friend of the podcast. He's been here, and that was the connection. So, first and foremost, you do have a show coming up, right?
Yeah, I do. On March 14th at Tips on Failing. It's called Aint No Saint. It is a fictional kind of story that I've kind of created and influenced by my own experience, specifically as a black man in America, and just from my own personal interests. It's I guess my first solo show, but photography is the main focus of the medium, but a lot of it is mainly expressed by my design and build background as well. So and also cut and sew. So I elevate and bring like more value to the images by building the environments, designing and actually making the outfits that the models wear. Don't do much Photoshop. I kind of treat it like almost as if it was going to be shot on film anyway. I do everything in camera.
Cool.
Just bump the contrast up a little bit, you know, crop it a little bit, balance it out, and then. But outside of that, you know, no fancy tricks, man. I try to capture it all in camera, even to the point when. The models I work with, they're like, all right, we're done. I'm like, yeah, I literally been planning this for like a year and a half. I just need you to sit still for like a minute and let me just get this picture real quick, and then I'm good.
Dude, isn't that the difference though?
Man,
when you're like planning, I mean, I've had some shoots where you do it on a whim and you kind of have to plan on some stuff going wrong. If you have to plan that fast, like you have to expect that, and you got to give yourself that flexibility and time.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so silky smooth when you could just walk in there with your game plan and be like, all right, stand right there, look at me like this, shoot, we're done, get the hell out of here.
Yeah, it's great when like the napkin sketch actually comes to life. And like in theory, I think this works. Yeah. I don't have the budget to test it, so I'm just gonna like line everything up and then kind of just swing it and see what happens, and it works. I'm like, all right, bet, good. You know,
I noticed a lot of your work has like a lot of contrast and a lot of light being cast. Is that a part of your planning process and you're scouting out spots? And you got to hit it at that time, or is that environment it's a variable?
The environment is a variable within, I guess, like the story I'm trying to tell. But I do I appreciate that you notice that consistency. I do a lot of that on purpose. I will say that the two biggest influences of all my work, is Kehinde Wiley from his lighting and his story and his subject matter, and then also Alexander McQueen, someone who I think like. Can take something so dark and turn it into an actual wearable piece of artwork, not outside of just it being art, but something that's actually functional and can serve like, you know, different purposes. I don't remember where I heard, but someone told me once, you know, you can be defined as a fine artist only if you can, you know, speak 3 different languages fluently, to be able to understand and communicate without words, but be able to express, you know, through art something to, you know, 3 different types of languages and 3 different types of people, you know. And for me, it's like I don't speak multiple languages, but I do like a variety of different types of medium, from, you know, photography to design to build, and being able to do all those things and like kind of like focus them on a platform.
I love that description of that. Communication being a language, communication forms being a language, and not necessarily like the phonetic languages, but because I feel that speaks to me big time.
Yeah. I mean, a language could be anything. I mean, you can easily speak through dance, music. I mean, those are all language, just because it's not like from a city or a country. You know, like I love hearing that too. 3 different languages. I don't know if I agree with the 3 thing, but I mean,
like in the variety, it's like understanding how to communicate on like a different level, like, and like in a sense that my point of view is my point of view, but if I can know that, you know, and can put myself and kind of understand from how other people see it. 3 was something that I feel like is just something in the rule of thirds that people like to gravitate towards. But I think it's just a lot of it just being having a variety. And like now, man, we live for us, we're all hybrids, bro. Like we grew up in a world where we didn't have all the knowledge of our phones. And it's like, what do I have in my closet? What do I have in my pockets and my wallet? And let me figure this out.
And how do you make it work?
And how do you just make it work? And now it's just like we have learned and adapt to that now, where it's like even defining career paths. Like companies are even changing to the point where it's like, oh, never mind, you don't need a degree, because we've learned that some folks, if you can't do that, some people don't work that way. And it's like opening up that gate in a sense. It's like, let's level this out and just see like what everyone is capable of doing as individuals, you know?
I didn't know about, I know about the corporate restructuring, some things, and they're like calling positions and creating positions, different things. But the format is changing for sure with that, I mean, we've talked about this a couple of times, but I'm not a traditionally educated person.
Same.
And I think that's a huge, that's a big step, just opportunity based on merit instead of maybe what you might look like on paper, whatever that means.
Yeah.
Well, on the other end of it, actually on that end of it, people always say that you learn from doing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can go to school for 4 years and be taught things, but like if you just start doing it, you're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
You probably do it a lot faster than going to Portland State and trying to.
Yeah. And like no knock to any of that in general. Yeah. It is just like, I think it's more of the understanding that not everybody learns the same. Exactly. Like some people can't. I've tried so many things to do it traditionally and I end up disliking it. Because I'm like, yo, this isn't what's working for me. Like, let me just figure it out. Give me a day. Let me just think about it and how I would do it, you know? And luckily, my dad was really supportive in the sense where he was just like in no rush for me to go in any form of debt. So he's just like, hey, if you want to just wait and figure it out, like figure it out on your own, like no rush. He's like, the traditional way isn't going anywhere, but if you find a better way and that's what's going to help, then, take that advantage to it and just kind of do it.
Yeah, if nothing's guaranteed one way or another, you might as well cool the jets on the 60 plus G's in debt.
I mean, it almost seems like the whole school platform is changing a lot. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like I see a lot of schools either closing down or being defunded in certain ways. And I mean, who knows what the future holds with that, especially with everyone being so specialized in their professional practice. Yeah. I mean, if you want to be good at this mixing board, you can get this mixing board and you can be like a fucking expert on this mixing board. And then that could be your career.
Yeah.
So that's always like we do talk about this quite a bit. It seems like, but who knows what's going to happen. And it's interesting to see.
I gravitate toward that a lot. I mean, there's some things where you're not going to just like figure out how to be a doctor. You might, you might have once.
That's different. Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? But like creatively, creative fields are a whole different ballpark than like your procedures on being an accountant or a bookkeeper versus like your creative, like nothing, like you said, when you're creating your environments, like nothing, it's planned, but it's also left up to chance. Yeah, so you have to, you work with what you have. And that's like that problem solving, like that creative side.
I'm just going to tighten this guy up.
So you mentioned that you're doing some design and build stuff. What do you mean by that?
So for example, in a lot of, I guess, editorials and studio type of photography, people like to incorporate shapes to, create depth and like different shadows and casts.
Oh, okay.
So for example, those shapes, they got to come from somewhere. So I build those shapes.
Really?
Yeah. So even in the sense of like the platforms, the environmental props, I built like this giant, like I guess you could say halo, that like is behind each of the subjects. So it's like, again, something that I could have probably done in Photoshop. But it's just something about actually capturing it in camera. I think that like also just brings like just more value and just like elevates it a little bit more.
Different level.
And it's just how your brain can communicate it. Like, just for example, it's like I can see, gory movies and I'll watch all day. I'll see that same scene and you tell me it's real. I'm like, nope. And because my brain knows it's like, that's real. Like this
you can
isn't
see
a joke.
The CGI.
Yeah. You can see it. Like,
you can see the CGI.
But
so
like,
when it's tangible inside that frame.
So so to building that, it's, if I want the environment to look a different way and if I want it to have layers, then I'll build a set that can hold it and create layers into that. Even from like I made a giant bow for like bow and arrow for one of my subjects, like random things. Instead of just trying to find it and then a lot of my work was before, like the reason why I kind of gravitated to this building what I can't find is because it was wasting time trying to find these things, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna do it. Fuck it, I'll just do it myself. It's fine, I'm just gonna go do it. And then so now it's just like planning it that way, opposed to like seeing what I can source first. And now I'm just like, no, I'm gonna plan it this way. If I think I can find it out there, then I'll go look for it. But if not, then I'm just gonna start from scratch anyway.
So you mentioned this being your first solo show. Are you finding ways to take those elements and extend them outward from the image in this space?
Yeah, that's kind of the great thing about the space that we're having it at Tips on Failing is so my roommate and I we Gage Hamilton, shout out to Gage, amazing phenomenal artist in Portland. He's brought so many people together and just artists to the city. Like that's why I'm sitting here. Perfect example. But like we try to like and give people the space to actually do things where they would never even think they had that space in the first place. If your studio is a 5x5, your canvases are never going to be anything bigger than that. But if your space is like 5 times that size, then you're like, damn, maybe I can do a giant scale stuff because you actually have the space. So for me, it's like, okay, I have this space, so let me take advantage of it. And to the point where, I'm going to completely kind of redo it, kind of how Gage did with his. And in the past we did with other artists. It's like, it's kind of nice to seeing everybody's different point of view coming to life in one controlled area. And like, that's something that I'm kind of really trying to create a vibe with this show is just the setting in itself will reflect from the work. The positioning of where I place them will be like there's so many layers to everything that I'm doing, honestly, in hopes to inspire other people to think like that about their work as well. It's like we're storytellers, and within one image you can tell a lot of different stories if you have a real good meaning behind it, and it's a great platform to put messages out there. And that's kind of what I'm doing from not even the images that I'm showing, but even how they're displayed and how they're represented and how I'm doing it. Everything that I'm doing specifically with this has a I guess you could say like it feels very religious, but there is no religion. That's why the title's called Aint No Saint. It has nothing to do with religion at all. For me, it's more of the power of belief and the power of hope and the power of faith as individuals and as humans. To the point where, if you're feeling a struggle and you feel and you talk to yourself and you talk yourself, you get yourself to that point and you are telling your brain to feel those things to help relieve you because of your faith and what you truly believe in. And for me, it's like taking that in a sense of like these entities and these people that I've created from this are reflections of myself, and then just generalization of just experience in the country, and then me like creating a face to that person, and just like, this is my power of belief. I believe that for me as an individual, this person is the one that helps me through this person is the one that helps me through this, and this person, and they're not even people. It's more of just like representations of people in my family, my past. Like, the main subject matter of all this is a matriarch. And for me, it goes down to like my family, my grandma out in Norfolk, Virginia, like being able to raise so many kids and grandkids and still do it to her very last day was a way. And for me to impact me at such a young age when she passed when I was younger, but still to be influenced by that. And then even with my aunts and my cousins and my uncles and everybody out there, it's like the matriarch of the family was someone that even in passing was still very, very powerful. So that is like the center of everything for me in personal experience. So then I created a face for that experience and like gave that person the story, and then pretty much created something out of it and giving a visual representation of the same elevation of almost as a religious individual or a symbol of something. Because for me, it's that powerful. That person, I'm saying, like the parents put the fear of God in you, He's like, I don't want to go home because that person scares the hell out of me. So.
Yeah. That's a hell of an artist statement you just said.
Like, I mean, that's real. I'm like, can't wait to see this installation.
Yeah.
Thank you, man. I'm really excited. I've been working on this shit for like a year and a half, man. It's been a long time, and it could have been done a lot faster. But for me, it's like, we were talking about, our coming from music and things like that. It's like when something that brings you so much joy starts to get a little bit frustration, it's your own little like your own personal call out. Be like, all right, maybe you should like take a little step back.
Right.
And there were certain times where I'm like, hey, I'm coming at this project at a certain point of view, and I'm in a certain part in my life and a certain energy that I want it to kind of express through it. So if I'm not there, I'm not going to force myself to get it done. But then once the picture's done, then I'm like, all right, now I got to put a date and actually get the thing out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, man.
So for anyone who doesn't know, like our buddy Gage, he does murals and stuff. And when I was at his recent show, he said something kind of, or I actually asked him, I was like, do you ever like do small paintings? and he was like, dude, I last time I did one, it was for a show, and I think it was about the size of a note card. And he said it took him like weeks. Like it just was not something that he, I don't know if it's just not used to it. Like he didn't, and I didn't enjoy it. For your style of photography, like what is your version of Gage's small painting, like something that a lot of people probably do simply, but you're just like, that's not me, and I'm just gonna keep doing this.
Yeah. I like to give this like example for that, and again, it's like all respect to everybody who has a great point of view. I mean, for me, even as photographers, I do not believe there is a such thing as a bad photographer, because what photography does is shows my point of view, and my point of view is my point of view. Who are you to say what's good or bad? So it's like, for me, it's like, I use the example of, you know, let's say you go find a beautiful, you know, mosaic bathhouse that has like some natural lighting that just hits perfect, and it's just awesome. You're like, yo, this is a beautiful spot. I'm gonna go find this model and this matching outfit made from somebody else. I'm gonna bring them. I'm gonna put them in this place. I'm gonna wait for that time. I'm gonna take the picture. I'm gonna tag myself. I'm gonna tag the model, and that's it. I want to know who built that bathhouse. I want to know, because whoever built that put those colors there for a reason. Knew that window should be there. Knew the sun was gonna hit. And people don't really like.
That was calculated.
Yeah,
as well.
It's calculated. Everything is calculated. Yeah. So for me, it's like, again, like when I'm selling these, and I like selling the artwork, and like it's just as if I painted it, because I can't paint. So, but I can sew and I can build and I can make things with my hands. So it's like I'm making the environment. If I want to do a photo in a bathhouse, I'm gonna make that. I'm gonna build a corner, and I'm gonna get tiles, and I'm gonna put those things there. Because I want to fully properly say that what you are seeing, this is the story I wanted to tell you. And before, it's like, it was, again, like you access to, you know, size and studio space. Before, I never had a studio. I rarely ever shot in studio. I hated it because it wasn't something accessible to me. Everything was environment, outdoor, finding the right time, finding like the right time of day, the golden hour, rushing out when it looked good. Like, God. You know what I'm saying? Like always running and running. But once you I finally started to think that it's like, that's a different lane. It can get me into the same place. But sometimes if I'm thinking about it, it's like, if you have the space, which I eventually started getting to, I just learned how to just make the light that I kept rushing to get to. And once that stress, I didn't have to worry about the light anymore. That allowed me to kind of start focusing on what can I do with this light.
Lighting's everything.
Lighting is everything, man.
Once you get good at the tools, it's such a big game changer for any photographer. I mean, like, I have a moderate studio space. This is nothing elaborate.
This is like the perfect size.
Yeah. But I mean, like, before this, you try to like make this work outside, and then I think like doing all that kind of guerrilla style lighting, and then you come here and you're like, oh, this is total game changer. But it's so good to be able to do both.
Oh yeah, 100%.
I was gonna say, there's something to be said for that, for the opposite side of that. That's like, so much more of like harnessing what's there at the moment, and not like, that's a polar opposite skill from like the fabrication side of things. And I think it takes both for sure. But like you said, like, not to be down on one or the other, but they each for sure take their own entire set.
Oh yeah, 100%. There's a thing for just having the intuition to know the inkling, like, yo, this is about to be good, and let's go over here, and then just capturing literally the right second and the right moment. Like,
exactly.
That is a whole
then how that shines through that. Like, is it going to be grainy? Is it going to be sharp? Like, are you working with other? Because you can cast and stuff like that outside. I mean.
But man, you can't beat that sun though. I'm saying that's all we're doing is trying to replicate what's just above us.
I will say though, like learning it with cheap gear, really helps you appreciate the nice gear. If you just buy a camera and then buy like the most expensive pro photo, like, you know, I don't think you're not gonna figure it out the same way.
Not at all.
Yeah.
No, you're gonna set it to A.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Facts.
Oh my God. Yeah.
You gotta set it to M.
You know, I actually knew, I had a photographer friend who I was talking to the other day, and he was kind of griping a little bit. He's like, you know, there's so many photographers out there now. There's so many. It's like everyone's trying to be a photographer. And I said, good, because the more people that go out there and buy cameras, the more appreciation there's going to be for the craft,
for reception,
and especially for like people who, you know, are on a different level, like they'll respect it more. I mean, there's something to be said for that.
What are you doing with that camera?
Exactly.
That's like, what are you doing with it? That's great that you got it, but what are you actually doing with it? Like,
well, it's like the conversations that you have is like, you can buy the expensive paintbrush, you can buy the expensive paint, but if you didn't get to the point of craft, like, that's cool. So you just have expensive gear now that you don't know how to use.
Well, it's like our buddy Quincy was on last week, and he says so many people ask him like, oh my God, what pen are you using? And he's like, I'll tell you what pen it is. Yeah. Like, that doesn't matter.
You're not gonna draw like me.
Yes, 100%. And honestly, man, like, I'm an individual that came from not having extra, and that's even with the space that we have at Tips on Failing. Like, I make it a point to literally educate and bring in anybody that has any question at any time, because again, it's like, I'll show you exactly how I made everything, but it's not going to look the same. It's going to look completely different because your point of view and your life experience and everything is different. So why am I trying to hold this from you? Like,
right,
you're not going to do this, and we have different lives. You're going to take this and treat it differently.
Share like the pool of wealth, like information wealth, is like so important. And in my business, screen printing, we do like art reproduction, and everybody in the community, not everybody, most people are really like close to the chest with that information. And for me, it's like, why not share that? Because like you said, people are going to do whatever they want with it. They're going to figure it out sooner or later. Like, why not help other artists and people like get a foot up and try to do something positive?
I think one time I made the comparison. It wasn't a comparison, but how there's different communities that are more supportive than others. And I actually think the photography is like, they don't support each other as much as other communities. I think a lot of times feel threatened.
Oh, I agree. And
I don't know why. Like,
I don't know why either, bro.
but I mean, okay. Like, I think with photography, like, every investment is such an investment that they like hold it to themselves like so much. Like, oh no, I bought this. Like, I don't want to let you use it. And it's like, well, come on, man. Like,
I mean, there is a certain aspect of like, I figured out how far to turn this dial. If I just give you the dial settings and you're there is that.
Yes, no, I get that.
At certain levels, it's like, you're not gonna. I want to help and I want to like set you up for success, but I'm not gonna just give you the whole thing,
right?
Because you still have to craft and appreciate that. And you can't. I mean, I could set my camera up the same way you set your camera up, but that's not communicating a vision. And dialing it.
That's like a lot of people, I feel like, get the words inspiration and theft very, very, very mixed up. It's like, it's one to be inspired by one thing, and it's also one to just literally just mimic. And it's like, to your point, it's like, I will always teach you how to fish. I'm not going to fish for you, but I will always teach you. But it's just one of those things where it's like, the people that I choose to share that information with and the people that ask, I make it very clear that it's like, this is how I do it. And I hope that this is used to help you, guide your path, not to just create what I'm already doing.
Right. Because then you're just going to shoot that photo.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, that's not the point of this. I want you to take this and honestly do better. Do something, be like, damn, I wish I would have thought of that. I'm like, I didn't think of that.
Well, if your style is like that easily mimicked, like maybe you need to step up your shit, man. Like,
facts.
Facts.
Big facts. And that's even for me, like, now why I share it with people. It's because I have like 10 plus years of like, my first job was like building houses and doing carpentry. And like, when I was playing music, when I wasn't playing music, that's all I was doing was building things. And like, I literally have years and years of experience to bring that value. That's why I'm very like open with sharing that information, is because it's like, I understand the value of my experience and my knowledge, to the point of like, yeah, man, it took me a long time to get this. So it's like, I'm cool with sharing it, because it's like, if you can get it done like faster, then bet. Like, shit, I wish I would have known. Like, can you help me? Maybe I'm doing something wrong.
There's no shortcut in any of the creative process either. I have these, it's like the realization that every single experience that you have adds up to your like creative output and your voice. And and if you hadn't built so much, and if you hadn't played music, then you wouldn't have this certain information and these lessons and this experience that allows you to create. We were talking about like different art forms, visual, sound, and it's just like, it's all tangible in its own way, but it plays that application long term. Everything that your collective experience is what we are seeing in your work.
I mean, when I asked you about the design and build thing, it totally makes sense when you say you used to build houses. It's like, oh, there you go. That's why it's very achievable for you, because I mean, I don't even really have tools for that. Like, I think I might be able to like guess how, but my execution would be shit.
But you know what though, I will say that like, once I feel as just creatives in general, like, we see things differently from a perspective point of view of like structure and how things are put together. There are layers to everything, and like, you say that you don't know how, but if I laid it out to you in a way that was comprehensive to you, you could, and you could build your own anything. Like, and that's for me is like empowering people in the sense of like, don't say you couldn't, because I literally was told my life that I couldn't in my entire, and everything that I've done, I've succeeded at. Like from my past life, even before I got into photography, I was very, very like soloed out, and I'm just like, no, I'm going to do this and this is going to work. And it worked because it's like,
I mean, and balling on a budget does that to you too. Man. I never had diffusion screens. I stretched a thin piece of white cloth over a frame.
Really?
Yeah. And hung it in front of my halogen light from fucking Lowe's. And that's how we created soft light. I didn't have $1,200 to throw down on like an okay set of flashlights.
And it's even funny when you do eventually have a point where you do have that money, you invest in differently
in different stuff, because you're like, I already
got this.
I got a soft box,
$15.
It's a screen.
Fine,
we got it.
Be good. Like So it's like that type of background and just that type of creative attitude and just that hunger that we have, and being able to be resourceful and be able to squeeze blood out of rocks.
It's like shining in adversity.
Yeah, man. Like balling on a budget, like that takes actual talent and experience, you know what I'm saying? Like, and that is worth something. That is worth a lot.
There's nothing like earning that, you know?
And then, and something I will say too that I've started to learn, like just from a photo, standpoint, is just like we were talking about, like sharing information, but not even just sharing information, is like having a group and a collective group of people to create one vision, in a sense where it's like, everybody has a focal point in everything that they focus on, even if it is from styling, hair and makeup. I used to not see the value behind that. And then like I worked for the machine for a while over at Jordan Brand for a couple of years, and I did see the actual value of that, obviously because they have budget, to be able to do that. But then seeing the actual works of it to the point where it's like, man, you literally only have to worry about this single thing. And because that's all you have to worry about, like, nothing else is going to stress you out. You're just like, yo, I'm just going to know that this fit's going to look so good. Yeah, that's all you have to worry about.
I'm going to complete this part of the painting.
You ain't thinking about post. You ain't thinking about no retouching. You ain't thinking about cropping. You're not even thinking about lighting. You're just making sure that they ain't sweating and the makeup looks good, and that's your only focal point. And when that's all you have to think about, then that shit's going to shine. Every single person has like, all right, this is all I'm going to focus in. So I saw the power behind that. But then like we were talking about being hybrids, man, you get a group of hybrids together.
Oh yeah.
Man, like you're unstoppable.
It goes down.
Like, yeah. So man, yeah. That's something like right now that I'm starting to embrace a lot more. Like opening up my studio to have people come in. I specifically like have equipment that I don't use. I'll use sometimes, but I have it there just to let other people use it. Because like most folks don't have access to studio space because it's expensive. And it's like, it's hella expensive. Like,
I'm not sure how much you've done this, but for anyone that's listening, is there somewhere for them to reach out to if they'd be interested in workshops and things like that? Because I think about that all the time.
Yeah, man.
Opening up our studio.
Oh, like here?
Can we come together and like host some workshops
that would be sick.
And do something cool?
Hell yeah,
dude. I've actually thought about that, like having at least groups, like forming groups to do shoot days or something. And if I was going to do it, I would, and again, I don't know how this could work logistically, but if you had a scene and like you had models that could sit in, the only thing is like how many flashes can go off at once. Yeah. That's like my only concern, but I'm like, it could be kind of cool.
You cater it, you do it small, like I would love to show people like what building and stretching canvases are like.
That'd be cool.
What is framing artwork to be ready to hang look like?
Yep.
What is lighting a shoot? And because this is the final product you're trying to get, what does that look like on the back end?
Yeah.
What is producing screen prints and things like, and
a lot of times, like, that's not it for some people. Like, they're like, all right, but it's more of just giving them the option to decide themselves if that is.
Exactly.
It's like before, it's like, oh, man, I don't like studios. I said that because I was broke and could not afford a studio.
Well, I resent the studio.
So I resent the studio. But now that it's like, yo, like, if I can give that, like, come in for an hour and decide if you want. And if you want to learn more, here's the equipment. And like, I'll show you how to set it up, and then you figure it out. Like, because for me, that's the funnest part. It's like, let me see what I can do with this. But man, like workshops, that's definitely something that like, I think that's a good look. Having just like topics and like, yeah, man.
I know that Canon, when they like introduce new cameras, they'll invite a bunch of like influencers and shit to this whatever building it is, and they'll have that one building like completely tricked out with crazy RGB lights and almost be like models like in these little, I don't know, little scenes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one way to do it, but you know, you got to pull off all that lighting.
That's a lot of lighting.
Yeah, and then the models just sit there for like a couple hours and just kind of move around, like do the poses. So
we're not doing it. We're not doing Canon level conferences.
yeah. But that concept is there. I mean, you could almost do something outdoor and try to build something within.
Man, I already got some ideas, bro. I was like, shit, I got too much to finish already. I got these ideas. It's like, in this sense, all you have to do is collaborate with set designers.
Exactly, and
you
then
have a space enough. You build like 5 to 10 rooms. Everyone designs a certain thing in an environment.
Yeah.
You have like ways to cast natural different types of lights.
It
and
could
like,
work.
Man, yeah, that they could work. It could work. Yeah. Power
work.
People, bro. Like,
just,
you know.
Just like you said, man, you get some hybrids in a room together, like anything can happen. Get some set designers who understand a little bit about photography and shit like that. That would be a hell of an event.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Oh, we'll keep talking about that.
How are we doing on time?
We're 30 minutes in right now. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, we're doing good.
We're hanging out.
Yeah.
Lit.
Yeah, we don't have the Budweisers on the table like last time. we had a beer, but we were like, we had like these prop beers that were Budweiser. And I'm like, well, we should just drink them because I don't know what else to do with them.
Yeah.
But the whole time we're like, can we turn the logo in? Like it's a little shameful.
That's so funny.
So where do you personally seek inspiration? I know a lot of it comes from background, but how do you keep like that fire under your ass?
Honestly, I try to find inspiration in everything but photography.
Yeah, that's good.
Again, where it's like I'm if you stare at the same social platforms all day, man, you're just gonna make the same shit as them. And yes, you can be influenced by it, but it's like you're putting. I've said it before, and like in the past and other things, like you put blinders on yourself, and you get tunnel visioned. Like you don't even do it on purpose. You don't even know that you're doing it.
No, you're just getting that.
You're just getting it. You go into that deep tunnel, and you just keep seeing it over and over.
The algorithm gets you.
Yeah. So I'd use it. I look at other mediums. I recently started to dabble a little bit on the painting side, just to give myself a different appreciation of how to create composition and lighting through just my hands and paints. Architecture is a really, really big thing for me, mainly just because of the understanding of like creating a structure that not only has to function and be safe, but also has to house lives and other people, and just has a flow a certain way, like that. I think, beautiful. Yeah, man, and in the way that you can like mix textures and just structural, shapes and movement, I think is another big influence for me. But just like going to different mediums outside of my own, is kind of what I use. Like the two biggest inspirations of is a painter and a tailor, like a seamer. So like something like cut and sew. Like those are my biggest inspiration. Because everything photography wise for me is like I love like documentary type of photography, but my work is not that. So it's like I get my inspiration in other places to reflect in that type of work. Yeah.
You brought up like architecture, and I recently, not recently, like last year, I got one of those rulers that architects use where I forget what it's called. It's not called a ruler, but it's like everything to scale. So when you're drawing stuff out, but I had no idea that was a thing. I didn't know they had these like things that look like rulers. Like this is 1 foot, 2 foot, and like that's how they measure everything out so perfectly. Yeah. But again, like that's how much I learned about one little device, and that sparked my appreciation for what they're doing so much.
Everything is a rabbit hole.
Yeah,
everything's a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, what else are we going to do? What else do you want to talk about? We don't start beef on the podcast.
Oh,
no, we don't do that.
We're vegetarians here.
Are you vegetarian?
I've been doing it since December, and I feel great.
Actually, like I've cleaned up my diet and like trying to work out, and that does help so much. I used to kind of party a lot, which that.
Yeah, same.
You know what the thing I don't like about it, and again, this has nothing to do with art, but I think it's good for like the healthy mindset is if you start your week off trying to get back up to like a normal mindset, it's such a waste of time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, man.
It's like you go into the week just dragging ass, and then like by the end of the week you finally feel good again.
Yeah.
Like I'd way rather like just start it strong.
Yeah.
Bright and early. Make the most of like do a 14-hour day, and then like feel good the next morning doing that. So you've changed your diet recently. I've been trying to stay on top of my health in a more positive way. I mean, what advice do you think you can give to other people, other artists, other creatives to like keep their brain healthy and keep the ideas coming out?
Honestly, get yourself out of your studio every once in a while. I'm the worst case. Like I literally will like trap myself inside, and like it's one of those things where it's like, what do you call it? It's like a not like high performing anxiety in a sense where it's like you are still like you're still functioning, but you are still also internally like kind of like freaking out all the time.
Yeah.
And that's something for me personally that what I try to do is just like even this morning, like ever since I like put a date to the show, I've been having nightmares about things going wrong.
Oh no!
Because that just happens. You know, that just happens as individuals. We are our own biggest critics. We will shit on our own work sometimes when everyone's like, "Yo, you're crazy. This is phenomenal. What you're
That's
wild,
how you keep
bro."
motivated in a way too.
Yeah, it does. And for me, it's like literally just getting outside the house today, going and getting coffee with my girl, and like walking down to the corner. Like there's
nothing like disconnecting a little bit to get you like really inspired. Like we'll go out and go be in nature, or we'll just like. I recently like moved homes and like dialing that space in, and all of a sudden I'm thinking about like, oh yeah, this is that shit that I couldn't like think, like I couldn't hit that point staring at it.
Mm-hmm.
I had to like go and let my mind wander away from the project to like catch that inspiration for that last piece. And I mean, like you said, exploring other mediums, like I didn't begin to understand light quite like I did once I started painting, and I started looking at light different, even with the photography background, started looking at light differently, and like what a reflection and what and like the colors that those actually are individually. And I mean
languages, like we were just
languages, and it's so I think that just to expand on your point, like finding that outside influence and just disconnecting from the thing that you've been staring at so hard, it's like taking that step back in order to like reset and re-energize, I think is huge.
Oh, huge. Yeah, for sure. You got to give yourself that mental break too, and just go look at other things. I mean, even if you're not looking for inspiration, it just works that other side of the brain.
Yeah. And
that helps a lot. I mean, you even mentioned deadlines, how valuable those are. I think I stand by that. I was doing a shoot yesterday. I was on the mountain. And I was doing some editorial style stuff, and in the beginning, like we're kind of calm, everything was chill, and the photos were looking good. But then we went a little higher, and it was, first of all, way colder, and it was like snowing harder.
Sheesh.
Now because it was colder and snowing harder, we were all like, all right, we got to like do this quick and like get the hell out. We'd probably only have like an hour, and I'm not gonna lie, we got the dopest photos in that 1 hour because we were like, we have 1 hour that's over, like otherwise everyone's gonna freeze. And that's the deadline thing. There's so much value.
We all
to
know what we got to do. It's like literally we all trust each other. It's like, yes, we got to do this. It's time to go. Let's all go now.
And in that case, like it was literally Mother Nature giving us the deadline. It wasn't us. It was like, no, we don't have a choice. We got to make this happen.
And that probably changes the way that you're going to approach certain things. Which is like the incredible thing. It's like how you adjust and evolve from those experiences.
Man.
Let's just go straight to the top.
I mean, but just being too comfortable is bad for people. Being complacent in your daily routines, being complacent in not exploring other mediums. I mean, you have to try something.
No, definitely.
And give yourself deadlines.
Yeah.
So what's the date on your show again?
March 14th.
March
it's
14th.
Saturday. It's going to be from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. I'm still, deciding on the layout. Like I said, there's a lot to speak to it. I'm actually meeting with my homie Terrence, who's a copywriter out here in Portland.
Oh, nice.
He's helped me out with a lot of stuff. It's to the point where I'm going to walk through him with the show, and he's going to help me put together a little write-up for it.
That's great.
Because I'm going to be, funny enough, man, talking about being busy. Photography is like 100%, like mainly like this show is all hobby. Like, I got full-time job Monday through Friday. So, but I'm, blessed enough that my work and what I do is relative to my art and my creativity. So I'm going to be here for the opening ceremony on the 14th and that weekend. And then I got to fly out to do a shoot for about a week. And then I'll be back for a week, do the closing ceremony. And then I got to leave again. Yeah, the opening ceremony, it's going to be one of those things that I actually really want to like walk people through it. And then the visual presentation is, I have photography pieces there. I'm also going to have some of the outfits that are in the pieces also displayed as well. And then I have a couple little little surprise pieces there as well that people will probably more reminiscent to my last show that I did with my good friend Marcus Prime. Shout out Marcus.
Marcus Prime.
Yeah, that's my boy.
So dope.
Yeah, man. So me and him, my first show was me and him. We did a collaboration called For Us By Us at One Grand Gallery February, maybe 2 years ago. And this we did our own, both did our own, I did photography, he did illustration, but with the same cohesive kind of like story that we were trying to tell. And that was the first time where I started, building backgrounds and started making the outfits. And this next show now is more of like an evolution of that first one, which I will say, which is pretty cool, that one of my most popular pieces that I had, Killer Mike actually owns now. I got to deliver it to him, which was amazing because Marcus is the homie, man. Like that guy's crushing it now. So. And he got.
I love the stuff that he's been doing. The illustrations.
Oh no, man, that's so lit. It's so good.
I know he's been killing it with that stuff. Yeah, I really have admired his work. We met through some mutual friends.
Lit.
He's just
like he was living out here with me in Portland for about a year and a half.
Okay, is he not around here anymore?
No. He's down. He's back in LA now.
He is.
Yeah, man. But he goes back and forth from there in New York.
Okay.
Just crushing it out there, man. He's just, man.
He's a force. Yeah,
man,
that's really cool.
I'm so happy for him, man. Yeah.
Well, how can people find you? Is there anything else you want to say about the show, or?
I mean, like, come through, check it out. It'll be a vibe. My goal, through everything that I do, is hopes to inspire people to think outside the box. This was a lot of it was me creating what I couldn't find, and where I found the inspiration was always in a way that didn't properly represent, people of color and myself. So in that sense, it's like, all right, I'm gonna make something. And I want this to spark other people to start thinking outside the box. But yeah, man, March 14th, 6 to 10, come through. Got the homie Vanport making me a playlist for it, which will be very vibey.
Oh, nice.
I'm going to say it's going to be I personally may dress up a little bit, but that's just me. And it'll also a low-key be kind of a B-Day celebration because my birthday's on the 16th. So might as well do something like that.
So bring gifts.
Yeah, I'm registered at. No, I'm just joking.
What's your Instagram handle, website, any of that?
By Anthony Taylor. You can find me on Twitter or I don't even think what's my Twitter handle. My Twitter handle is Go Home Roger. Anyone knows any of that reference? But yeah, Instagram by Anthony Taylor. My website is anthonytaylor.me. And then on my portfolio on the website, you can see a little bit more of my random like design. I used to make I still do like one-off leather things. I do a lot of random stuff.
Yeah, lots of cool stuff to look at on the site.
Awesome. Well, I'm looking forward to it, man. And thanks for coming by. I really appreciate it.
Thank y'all, man. This is great. This is really great. Thanks for making me feel comfortable. And this is great. I was telling you, I'm trying to get in front of the camera and speak out a little bit more. And this was a great way to kick it off. So I appreciate it, man.
Well, everyone, be sure to check out his show. Best of luck, everything you're doing. Hopefully we'll be back soon, man.
Hell yeah.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Take it easy, y'all.